Neighbor. Then why should one call the world Maya? Master. As long as one has not realized God, one should renounce the world, following the process of neti neti. But he who has attained God knows that it is God who has become all this. Then he sees that God, Maya, living beings, and the universe form one whole. God includes the universe and its living beings. Suppose you have separated the shell, flesh, and the seeds of a bale fruit, and someone asks you the weight of the fruit. Will you leave aside the shell and the seeds and weigh only the flesh? Not at all. To know the real weight of the fruit, you must weigh the whole of it, the shell, the flesh, and the seeds. Only then can you tell its real weight. The shell may be likened to the universe, and the seeds to the living beings. While one is engaged in discrimination, one says to oneself that the universe and the living beings are non-self and unsubstantial. At that time, one thinks of the flesh alone as the substance, and the shell and the seeds as unsubstantial. But after discrimination is over, one feels that all three parts of the fruit together form a unity. Then one further realizes that the stuff that has produced the flesh of the fruit has also produced the shell and seeds. To know the real nature of the bale fruit, one must know all three. It is the process of evolution and involution. The world, after its dissolution, remains involved in God. And God, at the time of creation, evolves as the world. Butter goes with the buttermilk, and buttermilk goes with the butter. If there is a thing called buttermilk, then butter also exists. And if there is a thing called butter, then buttermilk also exists. If the self exists, then the non-self must also exist. The phenomenal world belongs to that very reality to which the Absolute belongs. Again, the Absolute belongs to that very reality to which the phenomenal world belongs. He who is realized as God has also become the universe and its living beings. One who knows the truth knows that it is he alone who has become father and mother, child and neighbor, man and animal, good and bad, holy and unholy, and so forth. Neighbor. Then, is there no virtue and no sin? Master. They both exist and do not exist. If God keeps the ego in a man, then he keeps in him the sense of differentiation and also the sense of virtue and sin. But in a rare few, he completely effaces the ego, and these go beyond virtue and sin, good and bad. As long as a man has not realized God, he retains the sense of differentiation and the knowledge of good and bad. You may say, virtue and sin are the same to me. I am doing only as God bids me. But you know in your heart of hearts that those are mere words. No sooner do you commit an evil deed than you feel a palpitation in your heart. Even after God has been realized, he keeps in the mind of the devotee, if he so desires, the feeling of the servant ego. In that state, the devotee says, O God, thou art the master, and I am thy servant. Such a devotee enjoys only spiritual talk and spiritual deeds. He does not enjoy the company of ungodly people. He does not care for any work that is not of a holy nature. So you see that God keeps the sense of differentiation even in such a devotee. Neighbor, you ask us, to live in the world after knowing God. Can God really be known? Master, God cannot be known by the sense organs or by this mind, but he can be known by the pure mind, the mind that is free from worldly desires. Neighbor, who can know God? Master, right. Who can really know him? But as for us, it is enough to know as much of him as we need. What need have I of a whole well of water? One jar is more than enough for me. An ant went to a sugar hill. Did it need the entire hill? A grain or two of sugar was more than enough. Neighbor, sir, we are like typhoid patients. How can we be satisfied with one jar of water? We feel like knowing the whole of God. Master, that's true. But there is also medicine for typhoid. Neighbor, what is that medicine, sir? Master, the company of holy men, repeating the name of God and singing his glories and unceasing prayer. I prayed to the Divine Mother. Mother, I don't seek knowledge. Here, take thy knowledge, take thy ignorance. Give me only pure love for thy lotus feet. I didn't ask for anything else. As is the disease, so must the remedy be. The Lord says in the Gita, O Arjuna, take refuge in me. I shall deliver you from all sins. Take shelter at his feet. He will give you the right understanding. He will take entire responsibility for you. Then you will get rid of the typhoid. Can one ever know God with such a mind as this? Can one pour 4 seers of milk into a 1 seer pot? Can we ever know God unless He lets us know Him? Therefore I say, take shelter in God. Let Him do whatever He likes. He is self-willed. What power is there in a man?